Hi guys, in this video we're gonna cook together the most beautiful soup in the whole world, which is Hungarian garden peas soup with sour cream. I know maybe it sounds a little weird, but trust me. As a kid, I wasn't really fussed on these kind of soup things, but I learned this recipe about 8 years ago, and anytime I want to eat soup, that's the only soup I can think of. So let's go and get into it. Okay, so here's our ingredient list. I have 5 slices of bacon chopped, half of an onion, and 400 grams of chicken breast. I had frozen garden peas, so I started to defrost them in hot water. And we have here, how do you call this in English? I call them white carrots and potatoes and parsley. So to start out with, we keep it on low heat, and I have some olive oil, and it has to go in not too much, not too little, but just be sensible. Yeah, just about right. If it's too little, it won't work. If it's too much, it's gonna be awful. So you just, yeah, perfect. And when it's getting warmer, we're gonna put in the bacon only. And we have to wait until it's, let's say, halfway baked, but don't burn it. It is getting nicer, but it's still too pale, so I know it's not good. Now when you can see that it started to get brown a little bit, that's when you will add the onions. And probably you will have to cook it for another 5 minutes until the onions start to get a bit more soft. To help this, you can add a little bit of salt. It will speed up the process a little bit. And when you can see it's good enough, you have to take it off for a little bit. And the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna need smoked paprika. And I'm gonna put in a generous amount. I obviously don't overdo it, but if I don't put in enough, it's gonna be not tasty. So I would say it's probably a 5 liter bowl and 2 teaspoons at least. And I don't do it in here because I would burn the paprika, and that's why we needed a little bit more of the oil, because the paprika powder mixes in oil. So that's why this part is so important. So this is the one part when you can mess up your soup, but if you do it this way, you will not burn the paprika and your soup will be amazing. Oh, if you could smell it, it's beautiful. So when I make sure that everything is completely mixed and I don't have little powder left here and there, I will bring this back in here and I will wait about 10 seconds when you can see that it starts to heat up again. But I don't wait longer than that because I can burn it. So I put a little bit of water in, not more than this, because this will save my life from burning it. And now I can add the chicken, and you have to do it carefully if you don't want it to splash. Just careful, careful, careful. Okay. And now it started boiling. So where I'm at this point, I know it looks weird, but you have to trust the process. So now I can add my vegetables. Obviously I washed everything and I add it carefully. Obviously I'm gonna take this one out. I only put it in for the flavor. And now the rest. Oh, okay. Just carefully because it will splash everywhere. Careful, careful, careful. And now I can add more water. And obviously I boiled it and it's gonna be easier. And of course our parsley. This is really needed because that will give the nice flavor. And now more water. I'm not gonna put water too much, like just leave a few inches from the top. This will be perfect. And this is the moment when you can put in your pepper and some salt. I never like to use too much salt, but because I put in potatoes and carrots, it will need some salt, but I like to salt it when I'm eating it. And that's how, just the way you like it. So I'm gonna leave this here and it will need at least half an hour. We are about 5 minutes in and I can see it's completely boiling. So I'm gonna take it down a little bit because it will be just as fine without boiling. Yeah, perfect. And now we're gonna do a little bit of extra to make the soup even more amazing. Now we're gonna do a thing what probably you never heard of if you didn't watch Hungarian food videos. But in this soup, we do a thing which is called in a certain name in my language, but you really can't translate it because there is no such word in English like that. But I call it pinchy, and in 2 seconds, you're gonna find out why. So for this, we need one whole egg, and we're gonna need some salt. Be a little bit more generous, like this. Then we need a little whisk and we're gonna mix this until it's completely mixed. I mean the yolk and the white. And once you're done with that part, like this, you will have to add a little bit of flour, completely plain one. And the way I like to do this is I add a little bit. You don't worry, you're not gonna mess this up. And you start to mix it. And when the egg completely picked up the flour, like okay, you can't see it, but don't worry. When it completely mixed together, I will add more until I will get a dough. So I add a little bit more, like this. And now it started to get a little bit more solid, but it's still like not liquidy anymore. And once I can't mix it more because it stays the same, I add a little bit more flour and I mix again. And now you can see it's getting there. And once I cannot do more with my little whisk, oopsie, I will add more like this. And I have to go by hand. And I'm gonna go up until I get a completely solid dough. It's easy to do because after a while, it cannot pick up more flour, so you can't do more even if you wanted to. So it's still not the perfect consistency because if you don't put enough flour in it, it will be too sticky, and that's how you know it's not there yet. But it is getting there. This is the dough that needs only 2 ingredients, which is perfect for us. Oops. I believe it was a little bit too much, but now I start to, that's gonna be the final stage because it's really like a dough now. And it is very sticky as well. But who cares? This will taste amazing in your soup, and this pinchy will make the soup more fulfilling. I'm not saying it will be empty without this, but after you have a bowl of soup like this, you don't want anything else. Okay, now we have the dough. So what we are doing here is that you need a little plate, and you will need a little bit more flour, and you will have to take a little bit off, and you put some flour on the sides like this, and you have to make it flat. And what you do is you pinch and you drop it, and you pinch and you drop it, pinch and drop. That's why we call it, in my language, it's called chipetke, because chip means this. So it's like pinchy. So you keep doing this until you have dough, and it has to be just small, like as much as you can pinch off with your two little fingers, and you just go around a little bit like this and you drop it. It doesn't matter if it's a little bigger or smaller because it will taste beautiful anyway. So you keep going until you have it all. Like I have this much so far. Oops. Come back. I show you how easy it is to do. Like I'm not gonna look. You can see me, I'm not looking, and I can still do it. So if I can do it without looking, you can do it too. It is fun. It's a little boring actually, but it is fun because it's gonna be so yummy. Well, we are probably 25 minutes in, and now here's our pinchy. The way I do this, I just release it carefully and slowly, and they won't stick together and they won't splash either. What we have to do here is just simply this, and they will go down in the bottom, and a few minutes later when they are cooked, they will come back. So that's why we put this in at the end, because it cooks very quickly. And that's why I didn't put my garden peas in either, because it will take like probably 5 minutes to cook. So this is happening in here. Oopsie. There you go. I give it a little stir. And I cook it for another 5 minutes, just like this. And a few minutes later, your soup is gonna look like this, which is completely fine. And now it is time to add the garden peas carefully. And unfortunately, the garden peas will cool down the soup a little bit because it was frozen, but a few minutes later, it will come back. And give it another stir and cook it for another 5 minutes. Some people in my country, they don't do anything else with this soup. They think it's done and you can eat it, but there's a secret ingredient, which is sour cream. And what we do here is that I'm gonna put sour cream in this bowl like this. I don't put the whole thing in it. If it was 300 milliliter, probably I put in like 230, 250. I don't need more than this. So the situation is I cannot put the cold sour cream into the soup because it wouldn't really mix properly. So what I have to do is I get a ladle and I put some into the sour cream like this. And probably I will need a little bit more. Like a little bit more. Yes. And now I will whisk it together, but I have to be very careful and just slowly. And I mix it until it completely smooths itself out. And you just have to do it slowly because the soup is very hot and the sour cream is very cold. And if you do it this way, it's going to be so much easier to put it back into the soup. So It's still not good enough yet, so I keep going until it's completely smooth. I don't know if you are scared at this point, but believe me, just trust the process. Actually, if you don't mind me asking, can you tell me in the comments what country you watching me from? I would be very curious to know where this video landed. Now, when it gets easier to steer, that's a good sign that it is completely mixed. So when it is completely mixed, I'm gonna put this back in and just slowly and carefully, simply like this. And I put the heat back and I start to mix like this. And I'm gonna cook it for another 5 minutes and our soup is done. Like, look at this, how beautiful this is. Like, it is the most beautiful thing in the whole world. And you can see, you can hear from my voice, I'm so excited to eat this, that this is my favorite soup in the whole world. And I really hope if you try this and you will taste it, it will be your favorite too. I would be the happiest person on earth. Actually, when you start to boil it, it's gonna look like this and it's completely normal. So when you can see this, you don't freak out. It's cool, it's completely fine. So you cook it like this for another few minutes and you will be ready to eat. Well, guys, this is it. Our soup is done. I am so excited and I'm also so hungry. So the reason why I done this soup so rich, because I told you in the other video, in the first video actually, because this is my second official video on my channel, that I live alone and I don't have anybody to share food with. So I tend to freeze these in a container and I can eat them next week, after next week, or something like this. So the truth is that once you start to eat this soup, you just stuff your plate like mad. And by the next day and the third day, you will left with nothing. So that's why I put more stuff in it, because I want to enjoy this beautiful soup even if I want to eat it in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So I recommend to do this because it just makes sense. I waited about 5 minutes because it's still very hot, but now I'm gonna give it a go. Hmm. Need salt. I like things salty, unfortunately. Mm. Now this is the perfect taste. This is the perfect taste. Like, I totally went mad with the ingredients, but it is so good. I tell you one more thing. Usually, Hungarian soups always taste better the next day. I'm not saying it tastes bad, because it's not the case at all, but the next day is always going to be so much nicer. And also, I told you at the start of the video that I'm going to freeze these soups. So I'm not going to freeze it today, I'm going to freeze it tomorrow for this reason. By the way, if you don't like the chicken breast in it, you can skip it. I just like to put it in because it's more protein, obviously. And there are people who would put a little bit of leek in it for the flavor. And also, you can put cauliflower in it if you like it. So, there are other versions and choices. So, feel free to try them. But there is only one thing you can mess up this soup with if you put in too much carrots. Once I did that. And if you put in too much carrots, it's gonna turn your soup into too sweet, which you don't want. So you can't overdo the carrots, otherwise, it's gonna be too sweet. I'm so full and I'm so grateful that I cooked this soup. So I'm gonna go and lie down on the sofa for a little bit because I'm just too full and well fed. I really hope you like this video and see you in the next one. Bye.